You are now rocking with the 3-yard play.
Right.
We just figured out a 3-yard play, fam. We're gonna win every time.
Yeah.
Hit that link with you. Come on in.
You're tuned into the 3-yard play podcast. Well, the only question is, does it work for you?
Trail got wings, bitch.
We've been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year. We been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year. We live in weight just to hold up the trophy. Flag on the plate, cause them haters can't hold me. And 1, 2 a days and run up the biggest hill just to sharpen up my skills. They hit the scoreboard first, I had to hit them drills. Time I get around the corner, they gon' see my new wheels. After practice, till the lights come on, till they bust ride out and they gone. That rally had us help, my teammate down the steps. Player, we got plays you ain't even seen yet. I post up and fade away like graffiti. Just don't claim it's love when you see us on TV. We been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year.
3-yard play podcast.
We been working
brought to you by reality.
all year.
Where it is, what it is.
Game time.
You get what you get.
We all here.
So comment and let us know where you live.
Yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year.
Thing that separates us from every other group of slaves is the fact that
I get mine, yeah. You get yours, yeah. But together, nigga, we gon' get some more, yeah. Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers, they gon' grow, oh. We gon' water season, watch that harvest flow, oh. I've been crunching numbers, winter, fall, spring, or summer. There should be no reason that the babies ever hunger. When we get that money bound for, we don't run it. I only pledge allegiance to go fulfill the promise.
I ain't never been no tattletale, Mr. Officer. I can't read that narrative, so ain't no need of calling us. You ain't never had to tell your kid being black was a sin, cause his skin was reflected through America. Taking care of us was just a handout, right? But it was fair when free labor was just as nice. I can bet you your life, your kids living alright. Cause me and mine had to do it or die every single night, nigga.
I get mine, yeah. You get yours, yeah. But together, nigga, we gon' get some more, yeah. Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers, they gon' grow, oh. We gon' water season, watch that harvest flow, oh. I've been crunching numbers, winter, fall, spring, or summer. There should be no reason that the babies ever hunger. When we get that money bound for, we don't run it. I only pledge allegiance to go fulfill the promise. Time and time again, we try to cleanse our evidence. We the lost of many men. It's selfish to be. Let go talk to the gang. Feel alright, I feel alright. 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 Some nigga gon' be a good all night. That's my type, you know I'm right. You know what I'm about to do inside. Please, my nigga, don't start no fight. Focus on that bitch you like. Cause I'm about to good times. JJ nigga dynamite.
Just take it back to basics where there was no altercations. You could post up on the block before the lights came on they 80s. I remember all the blocks that we used to call Mercedes. They didn't travel out too far. Got that pimpin' out that way. We all shooting at the start. Only astronauts gon' make it, and the moon is just a rock that I sleep with on occasion. I don't wanna break a heart, cause the universe can't take it. Yeah, I'm headed to the bar, floating like I'm on a spaceship. Yeah, I do it for the cause. I don't wanna die complacent. Yeah, I live with it in my heart. That's why they be trying to take it. It be beating too hard. Got the block running crazy. It's a marathon to run, so I guess they make a race. Let's go pop till we fall, break a leg and call it dancing. Don't be playing on your job. I got promoted just to make it. Don't be trying to play too hard. See what God did the same. Authentic is enough. We can tell when you fake it.
Feel alright, I feel alright.
Feel it right, I feel it right. 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 Some nigga gon' be a good night. That's my type, you know I'm hype. You know what I'm about to do inside. Please, my nigga, don't start a fight. Focus on that bitch you like. Cause I'm about the good time. JJ nigga dynamite. Feel it right, I feel it right. 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 Some nigga gon' be a good night. That's my type, you know I'm hype. You know what I'm about to do inside. Please, my nigga, don't start a fight. Focus on that bitch you like. Cause I'm about the good times. JJ nigga dynamite.
Cast backstage.
What up? What up?
What's
We
up,
back
Trip?
here.
LJ, welcome back.
What it do?
Everybody
good?
else, thank you for staying tuned. Fellas, this is the deal, man. As you know, I'm scrapping, trying to reinvent myself, get these businesses started, and all these things. And what I noticed was I'm having a hard time really calculating and setting what my value is at the end of the day. So when I have these sessions and when I walk into different rooms, how do I show up? You know what I mean? What levels of expertise do I bring into these situations? So I struggle a little bit, and just knowing that you all were artists and do other various things, have multiple identities too. Just curious to know, what do you all do, or how do you determine your value and your worth?
I would start with a question for you, and not to be facetious, but for me, I had to kind of break down and separate what my cost is and what my value is.
Ah,
Those are arguably two different things. And to me, my value is always priceless. I look at the value I'm gonna bring to it as, hey man, it's the best it can be. Value wise, you got to be top notch regardless. Now, price and cost is something you may have to adjust based on your consumer, who you're dealing with, or just what you think the market will bear. And in my practice, my paralegal works with me a lot, or my case coordinator works with me a lot in terms of pricing. And his biggest thing he always reminds me is, what do you think the market can bear? And that's going to be a lot of times per client. No, not to be that way, but hey, if right now Apple or Coca-Cola hits us up, say, hey, 3 Hour Play Podcast, we need y'all out here, X, Y, and Z, man, that might be 20,000. But if the local after school program hits us up, or the community centers hit us up, or a youth group, even some young people that say, hey, we see what y'all are doing, we like to come out, that might be $500. That might be just pro bono, on the strength of like what we can pour into you all, and just getting the word out may be worth more than the money you could have, the money you might have checked at the time. So I
right.
think sometimes it's a analysis of what the market will bear, and also just cost benefit analysis of
Right.
like what you're putting in and what you look to get out of it, and or the possibilities or the relationships. Because something I learned a little too late is that a lot of times the relationships can be worth more than the money.
Ah,
Now, you can get good money, and or you could charge somebody something to stand on your price, but later on you may see like, oh man, how do charge this person this much? When you look at the real residual of all you gotten from working with that person, there may be a lot more, or vice versa.
cool. Now that's funny you say that, because the pro bono spot is what's got me all jacked up. Y'all know I do a lot of service work, and now, like I said, I'm on the rebrand because I've developed a lot of skills. You know what I mean? Since then, built a lot of relationships, have a lot of access. So it just made me kind of like, man, how do I go from that space to now asking you for something?
Right. And for me, it's always been about how do I compare or shape up to what the market is doing, what is out there. If I feel like I am providing work that is, comparable to other people, that are I base it on that. Like, okay, hey, this person is charging this, and my stuff is like right here, I should charge for the same, service. However, also I understand, going back to um, relationships. Sometimes you pro bono. It's not that you're giving away anything free. Sometimes you have to in order to establish those relationships. And at the beginning, you know what I'm saying. Even as you get into your field and you start making money, you still want to reach back out, and give at some times. You know what I'm saying. Give to the people, you know, some just to let them know that you care. You know what I'm saying? I think that's also a good point as far as establishing those relationships. But for me, man, like I say, a lot of it has to depend on am I comparable? Am I providing the same or just as good quality as anybody else? Because that's what you're saying that you're providing the quality of your work, the quality of your ethic you bring it to the table does it compare to the people that they pay already? You know.
Right, right. And see, like, thank you for that. Thank you for that. First of all right. So this is my problem, and so I spent so many years of my life working in a job and waiting for people to acknowledge my value, my worth. And then once I start applying for other positions, and I've been told, well, I don't know if you fit this. I don't know. And then knowing, I'm like, wait a minute. To your point, Trip, oh, I know I bring a lot to the table. But
Right.
damn, how do I, not, I don't even want to say sell it, but how do I present it? Or I guess, really, well, as I go through this, I'm really having an epiphany in this moment right now is that I shouldn't be trying to validate my worth through some other person. At the end of the day, is what I was kind of putting y'all's messages together. I'm realizing I'm giving too much power to somebody else to determine my value and my worth, and it's up to me as trippers ain't to set the cost. You know what I
Right.
mean? And if they can't meet it, then I need to make other changes, if you will. You know what
And
I
I
Right.
mean?
think don't be afraid to say no, you know, or to pass on business because something I had to learn and like I've been working for myself for a number of years and through the years it's gotten more and more lucrative and more beneficial to me. But I had to draw a line and recognize it's no real benefit in being the cheapest show in town,
Right.
because people want discount price, but they don't want discount service.
Right.
So
Right.
they want you to cut down and you make as small as possible and deliver to them as much as possible. And
Right.
on some level, it's not realistic because arguably you set your price too low, you're gonna lose some business. So some people are not gonna shop with you because they feel like it must be something wrong with what you
Something
selling.
wrong.
Like if these
Exactly.
other folks saying this $8,500, and I'm telling you I'm gonna do it for 1,500, a
Right.
thousand, 2,000, you already coming to me with an attitude like this just some whatever anyway, because it can't possibly be as good. And you might do the work that's on the level, and that ties into what LJ was
Right.
saying. It's like you got to look at your product and compare it. And I think also, one thing that we kind of we got to recognize is sometimes you make more money in passing on jobs because if it's something you take something and you underprice yourself, you're gonna wind up still having to spend a lot of hours and effort and work. You're gonna have a bad attitude and they'll be frustrated and not even get the best out of yourself or deliver the best because you also feel like you're getting taken advantage of. And I think last point, and I'll pass on to LJ, but also I think it's important that we need to always have some kind of iron in the fire or something working for ourselves. Because what you describing in like, man, how do I really show what all I do and what it should be worth is almost to say that you still, I mean, despite you having a job working for somebody else, you still need to have your own be an LLC and a website or just some kind of one sheet that can show I am also, whatever your organization name is, and a list of the skills that you can provide. So instead of having to describe it to somebody or talk to them about it, they can also see because it's a power when people go somewhere and they can just see it codified on the website or see it here in the physical reality of okay, I can type this up and see this is him. He does this and this. He's got this education or this work experience coming out of this area. And it may be the same thing you could have told them, but for whatever reason, they've been able to go look at it on their own, on a separate thing at their leisure. It just solidifies it a little bit more than people just hearing it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And to piggyback on what Trip said about not being afraid to turn something down. I work in the medical field, uh, and I've worked in service like fire department. And one of those, and in those fields, they always attempt to underprice, underpay these people who are vital to the inner workings of the country. And so I never forget going into into those fields, you know, the low ball that, hey, this is what we're gonna pay you. And I'm like, you mean I gotta risk my life for other people to be alive, and this is what you're gonna pay me? I'm okay. And this shocked them that I had went through all the training, I had put in all the hard work, only to be willing to say no. They expect me to, just because I did all that, for me to just bow down and say, okay, well, I guess I did all that. I might as well accept it. No, So even when I go into interview and they're asking, getting the numbers right, I'm not afraid to let them understand. I'll map the value out of what I do to them, because they'll try to gloss over it and be like, oh, well, you're only da da da. No, this is what I do, and you don't have many people doing this, and you need people to do this in order for it to work. So I will just go ahead and map it out so they see that I see that they're trying to lowball me. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times I'm not afraid. I try to approach it no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm going in. I try to approach it like, hey, I see you. I want you to see me. You know what I'm saying? Let them know, hey man, I'm willing to say no. And I usually, a lot of people, I try to tell them this stuff, and they'll look at me like, but Larry, uh, you're not afraid they won't hire you? I said, yeah, okay, somebody else will. You
Right.
know, or I will create a job for myself. Either way, I'm not afraid to lose, to
Right.
gain. And
Mhm.
that's what people need to know about you as your value. Then they know you really are valuable. When you're saying, okay, I'll walk away from it, that's gonna blow their mind. Oh, okay, he knows what he's worth. Let's work with him. You know what I'm saying? Or
Right.
not. Either
It's
way,
fun.
we gonna get.
Yeah, hey, thank y'all for that. But just because this backstage, this conversation about to take a huge turn now.
Uh-oh.
it's not.
He
It's not
dropped
that bad.
LJ
But
brought some good gems though.
God, when he was dropping those gems, it made me think about just relationships in general. You know what I mean? And how we just approach any relationship we in, not just business, not with a job or employer or anything like that, even with a spouse or boyfriend, brother, sister, all those things. And I was just thinking, like, man, that's great advice for even how we, interact with one another.
Absolutely.
And so I guess I ask you all, have me. I guess I don't know if I set it up right or what have you, but are there times where you notice that some of those, I guess you say, characteristics or traits that you were able to pick up on, how do they work in other areas of life other than just business in terms of
I
establishing your
think
value?
one thing I just noticed across the board when it comes to value is don't make yourself too accessible. And I hate to say it, like you're not trying to high side on folks, but at the same time, folks start to take you for granted. The more you around, and the
Mm,
more comfortable they get with you, sometime, or the more they think, oh, that's just such and such,
right.
then the more they either overlook you or just make assumptions or different things. You got to move and handle it yourself as if, hey, man, I'm valuable and you're going to have to treat me as such. And that's in all relationships with everyone. Be respectful and, of course, still extend yourself for family and do what you can. But folks also need to respect you and respect your time. And a lot of that comes with how you carry yourself, and then, baby, and we at the point that we get it, it's in appearance, it's in punctuality, it's in the way you speak, it's in a lot of different things that people pick up either air of professionalism from you or they pick up an air of, oh, this guy's just goofing around or he's just here. And
Right.
sometimes I waver because I like being comfortable. I like being relaxed, laid back, chill person. But I also recognize, sometimes people can take that for granted and or for weakness or just, kind of try to treat you less than because you're so cool. And
Hey, I
sometimes
feel
you gotta
that.
recognize you be too cool, you're gonna lose, man. You can't be too
I
cool. You
feel
gotta
I
sometimes
felt
be
that
sweet
message
on these
all in my
folks.
soul, boy. I felt that down in
And
my spirit right
and
there, boy. I
I'm gonna add
appreciate
to
that.
that. Yeah, and I'm gonna add to that. And sometimes I'm gonna tell you, like again, remember this proverb here. It says, "A prophet is not accepted in his own city."
Mm,
So I'll advise anybody that's looking to see what a real value at. Sometimes you need to go somewhere else.
mm,
You need
mm.
to go somewhere else and let them see you, because they don't have any preconceived notions of you. They don't know you, so they really are looking at you from what you bring to the table. Whereas your people, a lot of times, they knew you when you was a little pookie or a little whatever.
Mm,
So they not, yeah, everything is a hobby. Everything that you participate in is a hobby. It's not serious to them because you still a little pookie. You could be the best thing in the world, but because you little pookie or they remember that, they not ready to give that up yet. You know what I'm saying? And it may be malicious, but sometimes it's just comfortability. They're
mm,
not thinking anything about it. You know what I'm saying? So you move yourself. You think about it like this: how many times have you heard artists? We work in the music business. How many times have you heard an artist leave the area that they came from? They've been doing this stuff all this time. They go somewhere else and then blow up.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
but they were doing the same thing back home. So they go to show you, man. A lot of times you got to get to another city sometimes. And I'm not saying like a whole really city, but I'm saying like a group of
A different
people,
audience.
different audience.
You
Exactly.
put yourself for a different audience. But they
Right.
say, well, don't cast your pearls before swine.
There
And
you
it's no
go.
diss to the people close to us, but it's like, folks just gotta appreciate you and what you're doing.
That's
God.
it.
Hey, we at that 16-minute mark, but I didn't want to shut y'all down in that minute, boy, and mess up all these valuable jewels y'all dropping right now, man.
Right.
Bro, I just them just reason I'm taking that pause. One, it was the little pookie that was just making me die laughing. That little pookie, I couldn't get that. But at the same time, y'all was speaking to me. You know what I mean? Probably without even really knowing you really were. You know what I mean? Spent a lot of time and energy in my own space. Like I said, I've been in Atlanta all my life. Been trying to make a lot of things move, a lot of things happen. I get used in a lot of spaces because I make myself available. To your point, probably trip too much. So people don't take me serious when it's time to elevate to that next level, because that's where I am. I'm on the macro, but my life was set up where most things that I'm a part of, I had to help start. You know
Mm,
what I mean? And
mm,
so forced me in so many areas, and I realized today I've been spreading myself way too thin. You know what I mean? And really kind of diluting my value, if you will, to your point. And I received this very well by being too accessible. You know what I mean? At some point, I have to kind of like I guess you say, yeah, be like I say, make myself seem like a rarity. I know I
Yeah.
am, just generally speaking, because I'm a black man that shows up at schools and there was a lot, man. I give about 200, 300, 400 hours a year in community service, straight up.
Mm,
No ask
mm,
nothing, free. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
I know that's rare. You can't nobody tell me no difference. So I
right.
know I have a lot of value to bring to a situation. But I realize now, to your point, Trip, which is why I am rebranding and setting up my own business, setting up my own consulting, education, and mentoring firm, consulting, and trying to make some things move because I find myself shrinking too much in too many environments. And y'all know that ain't my personality.
Right.
It's frustrating. It's beep, to
Right.
have to shrink myself to almost relate to others. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
I'm really trying hard to establish some level of agency so I can show exactly who I am. And so, man, I appreciate those jewels, brothers. Y'all got any parting thoughts?
I think in closing, man, just highlighting what you just said is there's a huge power in specializing. That's something that I'm also guilty of is that I'm talented in different ways, But sometimes I was not even necessarily spread myself thin because I may be able to handle the things on my plate, but I know folks on the outside looking in will still, some of them will sit back and be like, well, what is it that you do? What do you
Right.
do? Because they
Right.
see you doing so much. They're like, well, are you doing this? Are you doing that? You're doing the podcast, you're doing the meals, you practicing, what are you doing? And so
Right.
sometimes, I'm ever reminded there's a huge power in specialization because
Right.
there's folks that I feel like, man, these folks ain't as talented as me. I'm doing all this, but hey, guess what? That person's doing this one thing and they're doing it well. And the time
Right.
that I'm spending doing this, and this, they doing this one thing. And even if they're not doing that one thing better, they're becoming more known for that one thing. And people just know, oh, this person does this. They don't do anything else. And when I think of somebody in that lane, I know this person does that.
Right.
So I think specializing also will help us out some because a lot of times when you're a giving person, a creative person, a talented person, especially in our community, we want to help everybody. So you feel like, let me help. And somehow that's going to come back and they're going to pay it forward or they're going to come back and get me. But a lot of times, man, you'll start to see people you help get in position. They could have hired you for something or come back to you and they go get third party person who they know, oh, that's just all they do. I didn't know you still did that, or I didn't know you really want to do that, or whatever excuse they make. But bottom line may come back to like, well, I didn't specialize, or I didn't make it known what I was
Right.
really specializing in terms of services I provide.
Gotcha.
And
What
if
about you,
if I leave you with anything, bro, tables, some new tables. Find you some tables to sit at that they don't know you. Start over. Start over in that regard. Go find a new audience. Because like at the end of the day, you know, go where people gonna applaud you, not where they gonna sit in the back
Tolerate.
and moderate and even look in the back and be like, hope that you don't make it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because they're not able to do what you do. Because a lot of times, I get a lot of flack. I feel like from people that know me, it's like, when you hear somebody say this, what is it that you don't do? It's not always coming from a place of admiration.
Mm-mm.
Right.
You see, so go find some places where people will look at that and say, "Wow, you do a lot. Can I get you to do this?"
Hey,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair point. Man, thank y'all for tuning in to that 3 Yard Play podcast. Where
Yes,
the
sir.
question is, does it work for you?
For
You.
you.
Gentlemen, I really appreciate those words. I hope our listeners can find some value in them, like I did. Watch me work. That's all I can say.
That's
3
it.
Yard Play
Get it.
podcast, baby. Thank y'all for checking in. Like, subscribe.
Hey, like, share, subscribe. We out.
We out. Peace.
Yeah, this sounds like foul play. Rest in peace to that brother they hunted the other day. Yeah, and that young brother in that wrestling match. Southside to everywhere his organs is at. Enjoy it now. There's gonna be hell. I made it, Hattori Hanzo bladed. Before every fight, Floyd Mayweather played it. As in this Jones sound perfect. Like you just got the stage 3 tuning done, it's working. Like Drago before his first bout. Spit my shoulder, it's cold, feel the thirst out. Yeah, it's art imitates life. Rendering a deep fake of Gandhi with a knife. Son up, I don't wanna hear about what you seen. Like a lethal drone doing drills, it's routine. For folks to kick back to the fact that 1% owns 99% whack. So yeah, I'ma always be pissed and spit retribution like this. You can throw your hands in the air, keep them in your pockets. Either way, I'm in a Stone Mountain pocket. I came to bring pain, hardcore brain.
Girls who really nod their heads when the beat is
like Samson on the way to get a retwist. Stands for the people like emojis of the black fist. My flows is fresh out the cactus. I fulfilled the prophecy for practice. Same active ingredients as crackers. Your turn to test the dough. Just enough to hang yourself, come measure the road. The wings are the same, bird, yeah, you should vote for me again, and I promise you get the same. Snowflake, it's a real cold game. In the woods of Columbia, I wrote this main. Watching the Bears versus the Jaguars, I'm just playing like we used to, R.P. Deontay. If you're lucky, you gon' grow old one day. But go ahead, decide now for then. Pro tip, the streets ain't your friend.
Girls who really know
It's part of it.
nod they heads with the readers. Nod they heads with the readers. Nod they heads with the readers. Girls who really know
It's part of it.
You see, the thing that separates us from every other group of slaves is the fact that
Yeah, thank y'all for tuning in today and every day. And remember to keep running your
we gon' get some
y'all
more.
play.
Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers, they gon' grow. Oh, we gon' water season, watch that harvest flow. Whoa. I've been crunching numbers.
Cause we know heroes are made in the off season.
There should be no reason
And
that
grinding
the baby
slow is
never
better than
hunger.
crashing
When
out
we
for
get that
dough.
money bound for it, we don't run it.
Let's say, young brothers, remember,
Don't fulfill the promise.
just get 3 yards every day. They can never
I can't
stop.
read that narrative, so ain't no need of calling us. You ain't never had to tell your kid being black was a sin, cause his skin was reflected through America. Taking care of us was just a handout, right? But it was fair when free labor was just as nice. I can bet you your life, your kids living alright. Cause me and
You
mine had
have
to
been
do it
rocking
or
with the
die
3
every
Yard
single
Play
night.
podcast.
I get mine, yeah. You get yours, yeah. But together, nigga, we gon' get some more, yeah. Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers,
So
they
like,
gon' grow.
subscribe,
We
share,
gon' water
and
season,
let's
watch that
discuss.
harvest flow. Whoa. I've been
What's up with
crunching
us?
numbers, winter, fall, spring, and summer. There should be no
Thank
reason
you.
that the baby
Tuning in
never
to
hunger.
3
When
Yard
we get
Play
that money
podcast.
bound for it, we don't run it. I only
Put a
pledge
focus onto
allegiance
it.
to